Welcome to Sexpertease. I'm your host and favorite sexpert, the Erica Rivera. Tonight we're talking about the difference between validation and connection because those two things get confused all the time in modern intimacy. Someone can make you feel desired, wanted, attractive, or important for a moment, but that does not always mean that they are truly connected to you. This is especially relevant in a culture where attention is everything and it's everywhere. People can get likes, messages, compliments, matches, reactions, and flirtation without ever feeling deeply understood. That creates a strange emotional contradiction. People can be more visible than ever and still feel profoundly lonely. So, tonight we're going to unpack why validation feels so powerful, why it often gets mistaken for intimacy, and what genuine connection actually requires. Because feeling desired can be meaningful, but it is not the same as feeling emotionally known. And understanding that difference can help people make healthier choices in dating, relationships, and self worth. So, validation is the feeling of being approved of, affirmed, desired, or recognized. It can feel good because human beings naturally want to be seen and acknowledged. There is nothing wrong with enjoying compliments, encouragement, attraction, or positive attention. Validation itself is not the problem. The problem begins when validation becomes a substitute for connection. If someone only feels worthy when they are being desired, praised, or pursued, or reassured, then their emotional stability becomes dependent on outside response. That can create a cycle where the person keeps chasing attention, even when that attention does not lead to any type of meaningful intimacy. Validation can answer the question, do they notice me? But connection answers a deeper question, do they know me? Those are not the same. Being admired from the outside is different from being emotionally met on the inside. Connection is deeper than validation because connection involves emotional presence. In It means someone is not only responding to your image, your body, your charm, or your usefulness, they are engaging instead or in addition to your inner world. They want to understand how you think, what you feel, what you fear, and what matters to you. Real connection involves mutual curiosity. It is not one person performing while the other applauds. It is two people gradually allowing themselves to be seen with more honesty. That kind of connection builds trust because it is rooted in emotional reality, not just impression. So, connection also requires consistency. Someone can validate you in a single moment, but connection develops over time. It grows through presence, repair, honesty, vulnerability, and the willingness to keep showing up be like beyond the exciting beginning. Attention can feel like intimacy, especially when someone has been emotionally deprived or unseen for a long time. A compliment can feel like care. A message can feel like commitment. A flirtatious interaction can feel like emotional investment. Does this sound familiar? However, attention alone, it really does not prove depth. This is where people often get hurt in modern dating. Someone may give intense attention at the beginning, and that attention may feel exciting. It may feel validating and intimate. But if that person is not consistent, emotionally available, or genuinely curious, the connection may not be as deep as it feels. Intensity can create the illusion of intimacy before trust has actually been built. Attention is not meaningless. So I don't want there to be a misunderstanding. It's not meaningless. It can be part of attraction and connection, but it needs to be placed in context. The question is not just, are they paying attention to me? The question is, are they emotionally present, consistent, and respectful with that attention? Social media has amplified validation culture. We now have visible metrics attached to desirability, approval, and attention. Likes, comments, views, shares, and reactions can create temporary emotional highs. They can make people feel seen, attractive, important, or relevant. But digital validation is often shallow by design. Someone can react to your photo without knowing anything about your emotional life. Someone can praise your appearance while having zero interest in your well being. Someone can follow your content without actually being connected to you as a person, and that difference matters. This is not about shaming social media. Social platforms can build community, can build visibility and opportunity. Those are definite positives. But when digital response becomes the main source of emotional reassurance, it can absolutely distort self-worth. The person may begin performing for validation instead of living from internal grounding. Dating culture also creates confusion between romantic validation and emotional connection. Being pursued can feel powerful, especially if someone has felt rejected or overlooked. Being chosen can feel like proof of worth. Desire can feel like emotional safety, even when the person offering it has not actually earned your trust. This is why chemistry can become pretty confusing. Someone's attraction to you may feel affirming, but attraction is not the same as care. Someone may want to access your body, your attention, your time, or emotional energy without being prepared for genuine intimacy. That can leave people feeling validated at first and empty later on. Romantic validation often says, I want you, but connection says, I want to know you, respect you, and show up with you. Those are very, very different experiences. Learning to distinguish those things can prevent a lot of emotional pain. Validation, it feels powerful because it touches very human needs. People want to matter. They want to feel attractive, lovable, interesting, and chosen. When those needs have been unmet, even small amounts of validation can feel emotionally intense. Attachment wounds can make validation even more addictive. So, in the past, I've done episodes on attachment theory, anxious attachment, um, avoidant styles. If someone has a history of abandonment, of rejection, bullying, betrayal, or emotional neglect, attention can feel like relief. It feels like relief. It can temporarily quiet the fear of being unwanted. But temporary relief is not the same as actually healing. This is why self awareness is so important. If validation feels like emotional oxygen, it may be worth asking what part of you is starving for reassurance. That question is not about judgment. It is about understanding your emotional patterns with compassion. Excuse me. My mouth got dry for a second. So, let's talk about the crash after you get validated. The difficult thing about validation is that it often fades so quick. The compliment feels good, but then the insecurity returns. The message feels exciting, but then the silence feels so painful. The attention creates this high, but the emotional emptiness comes back once that moment has passed. And this can create a cycle of chasing the next hit, another text, another like, another flirtation, more reassurance, another sign that you still matter. Over time, this can become emotionally exhausting. The person becomes dependent on external signals to feel okay. Connection operates differently. It does not always create the same instant high, but it creates deeper stability. Real connection helps people feel emotionally held, not just temporarily boosted. That difference is subtle, but it is extremely, extremely important. Emotional loneliness can exist even when someone is receiving a lot of attention. Like you could be receiving so much attention from being admired, desired, followed, or complimented, and still feel deeply, deeply unseen. That is because attention often responds to the outer self, while connection reaches the inner self. This is especially painful when people assume attention should be enough. They may tell themselves, I should be grateful, or at least someone wants me, or maybe I'm asking for too much. But wanting to be emotionally known is not asking for too much. It is a natural part of human intimacy. Loneliness inside attention can be very confusing. It can make people question why they still feel empty. But the answer is often pretty simple. Validation may be present, but connection is missing. And the heart knows the difference. Connection requires vulnerability. It requires allowing someone to see more than the polished, attractive, agreeable, or impressive version of you. It means sharing truth, not just performance. That can feel risky because real connection always involves the possibility of being misunderstood, rejected, or disappointed. This is why some people choose validation instead. Validation often feels safer because it does not require full emotional exposure. You can be admired without being deeply known. You can be desired without being vulnerable. You can be praised without risking the truth of who you are. But intimacy cannot deepen without vulnerability. At some point, connection asks, Can you let yourself be seen beyond what earns approval? This is where the real emotional work begins. Now, presence is also very different from performance. Performance tries to create a reaction. Presence creates a relationship. Performance asks, how am I being perceived? Presence will ask, am I being real? And are we meeting each other honestly? In relationships, emotional presence, it looks like listening, remembering, responding, and pretty much staying engaged. It looks like caring about how someone feels and not just how they make you feel. It looks like being emotionally available even when the conversation is not exciting, flattering, or easy. Connection needs presence because presence builds trust. It teaches the other person that you're not only there for high points. You are there for the reality of who they are. This is where intimacy becomes more than attention. Healthy reassurance has a place in relationships. Wanting affirmation from a partner does not automatically mean that someone is insecure or needy. Loving relationships often include encouragement, affection, verbal reassurance, and emotional support. Those things can be beautiful. The difference is that healthy reassurance supports connection rather than replacing it. It exists within a larger pattern of trust, consistency, and care. It does not become the only thing holding the relationship together. It does not require one person to constantly prove another person's worth. I believe that healthy reassurance says, I care about you. I want you to feel secure with me. Unhealthy validation, or should I say unhealthy validation dependency, says, I need you to keep confirming my worth because I cannot feel it without you. That distinction matters. One supports intimacy while the other can create emotional pressure. Internal validation is the ability to remain connected to your own worth, even when external attention changes. It does not mean you never want affection, praise, or reassurance. It means those things add to your life without becoming the foundation of your identity. That kind of grounding creates emotional freedom. So self-worth develops through self-trust, self-awareness, and consistent self-respect, those three things. It grows when you learn to honor your needs, you listen to your intuition, and you stop abandoning yourself for approval. It also grows when you stop confusing being wanted with being valued. They're not they're not always the same. The more internally grounded, that you become, the easier it is to recognize shallow validation. I think most of you know what I mean. You can enjoy attention without being controlled by it. You can receive compliments without building your identity around them. And you can choose connection over emotional performance. Building real connection requires mutual emotional investment. It requires curiosity, consistency, communication, and vulnerability. It asks both people to move beyond image into truth. That is not always easy, but it is where intimacy becomes more meaningful. This means paying attention to how someone makes you feel after the initial validation fades? Do you feel more secure, more seen, and more emotionally grounded? Or do you feel anxious, confused, and constantly hungry for reassurance? Your nervous system often notices the difference before your mind even admits it. Validation is temporary, connection is built. Attention may open a door, but emotional presence is what determines whether intimacy can actually grow. And that's the distinction that matters. All right. So we've come to the end of this episode, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining me tonight on Sexpertease. I hope that this episode helps you think differently about the difference between being validated and truly connected. Both can feel good, but only one creates the depth that many people are actually longing for. If this conversation resonated with you, you can support Sexpertease on Patreon, where I share deeper monthly after show insights connected to themes that we explore here. You can also book a one-on-one intimacy education session if you want support thinking through communication, desire, boundaries, and emotional connection in your own life. And if you are a guest with a perspective that can help expand these conversations, you are welcome to reach out and request a guest application. So, all those things can be found on the screen through my email, through social media. You can also contact me or patreon.com/the Erica Rivera. Stay curious, stay safe, and remember, attention can make you feel seen for a moment, but connection lets you be known.